Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube, and what we're going to make are brownies. What I like about these brownies is that, well, I generally like to use butter in recipes, but this one you can use butter or margarine. So it depends which one you like better, or maybe what you have at hand. But equally, they just come out so good, and it is it's an easy recipe. And if any of you've watched my videos before, I like things that are very quick, very fast to put together, but they're still very great tasting. And this is one of them. It really is. Now, what you can do, what I'm doing today, is I'm just using this little pan that I get nine little individual brownies out of them. Now, if you have this pan and you want to try this, well, that's fantastic. I use little liners because that way I don't have to, grease them and then dust them with flour. But if you don't have this pan, or you'd say, no, I have an 8-inch square pan, then that's perfect, absolutely perfect. So but like I said, I like them to be individual so that a person gets their own. It looks makes it a little bit more special. But again, you don't have this pan, don't like this pan, use your 8-inch square traditional brownie pan, and you know what, that'll work fantastic. It really will. Now, you can definitely use this recipe and go ahead and use your hand mixer, but I'm using my stand today due to the video, because it's just so simple and it's so quick and so easy. As I mentioned earlier, first what you're going to do is we're going to do reverse order. We're so used to combining our butters and our sugars and creaming them. We're going to do reverse. We're going to start off with our dry, and you're going to need 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour. 2/3. And I'm just going to put that in my mixing bowl. The next thing you're going to be putting in is 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, I no longer put the recipe below or at the bottom of the video. So if you want to jot down the recipe as we go along, hopefully I'll go slowly enough and clearly enough that you can get the ingredients to this recipe. So I'm just going to back up for a second in saying that it is 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour already in the mixing bowl, and 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. Now I'm going to be putting in 1/3 cup of unsweetened baking cocoa. This is not the instant cocoa that you just add some water and you drink hot. This is the unsweetened 1/3 cup of baking cocoa, and I just plop that in right there. The last two dry ingredients are 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, it's been standing for a while, so it got a little hard. And then I'm just going to turn my mixer on just to kind of mix it and blend it together. If you're doing it by hand, you can do it by hand or with your hand mixer, the same thing, or use a little whisk. Now we're going to put in butter. Now, if you don't want to use butter, please feel free to use margarine. It will come out very, very good. All you need is 1/3 cup of butter or margarine. Melt it as I did in my microwave, but allow it to cool. You don't want it hot because we're going to be putting eggs in a few minutes here, and you don't want to make scrambled eggs. So do cool the 1/3 cup of butter or margarine, depending on which one you've chosen to use. Okay? Without blending it or anything like that, we're going to go right next to the next ingredient, and it's 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Okay? And the last thing that we're going to be putting in is 2 eggs, and they're slightly beaten. And just put it all in there. And now we're just going to mix it till it's combined, but we're not going to overmix. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of my paddle here, take off my excess. This is when I always like to say, baking has become so expensive, you don't want to waste a drop, especially what eggs are costing right now. So I'd like to spend a few extra seconds just to get that all off my paddle. And then I'm just going to go to the bottom of my bowl and to the sides where sometimes that paddle can miss it. And I'm going to show you what the batter looks like. It's very creamy, very velvety, nice chocolate batter. Okay. And we'll go over to our pan. Again, maybe you're going to be using your 8-inch square. If you do, grease it and lightly flour it, or use your parchment paper. And I'm just taking a simple little cupcake liner and kind of stretching them out. You can buy little square liners. And I'm going to fill them with, well, I first want to show you, because I know I'm going to get questions, well, what size? Well, I went from smaller to next. I'm going to be using this size, and I fill two of scoops to each one. If you don't have scoops, just try to even it out as best as you can. I haven't measured it, but I would assume, just a guess estimate, probably this might be 2.5 tablespoons. But again, I haven't checked it out and whatever. So, but again, I'm using 2 scoops, and just level them off before you put them in. And then, because I'm not going to bore you with filling these liners, I just take a little knife here, little butter knife. Use whatever you want. You want to use a knife with more of a pointy end. And then, I just kind of make sure that they're evenly filled on the sides and what have you, okay? And you're going to bake these at 350 degrees. Now, in this particular pan, it took 18 minutes. When I bake them in the little 8x8, it has taken up as much as 23 minutes. So the guide, what I'm trying to say, is anywhere from 18 to 23, depending on the pan that you're using. And as we do know, all our ovens set up so differently, so you don't want to overbake these. And I really do start checking mine at about 16 minutes. Visually check it, as well as using your cake tester or a toothpick or whatever that you use. So I can't give you exact amounts, because our ovens do set up so differently. And then what I like to do is, once they come out of the oven and I put them on a cooling rack, then I generally decide how I'm going to cover them and what am I going to put on them. Now first I do want to show you what the brownie looks like. This chocolate brownie comes out, okay, and I'll just pull it off the paper. What I like about using the liners too, it's not only because it's fast and it's quick, but I just love how these edges turn out when you bake in paper. And this is how it'll look. It will have a medium firm top to it. You know, it'll bake up to a nice light golden brown. And I'm going to cut it into one to show you. It's about, I would say, medium in texture, but they're very light. The crumb, I don't know if you can see it, but how easily it pulls away. And then when I press on it, how moist they are. Okay, they're really a cross, I think, between a cake, a brownie, and a moist, chewy one. Okay, and that's how I would describe them. You might describe it differently if you give this recipe a chance. Now, that's how they look once they're baked up. Then if you want, the very easy method and great tasting this way is just put powdered sugar on top. You can eat them plain if you want. These you can go ahead and you could put your favorite frosting, or I have chocolate jimmies on top of the chocolate frosting. Put a glaze of whatever flavor you like, or icings, or whatever. If you're looking for icings or glazes, I do have them on my channel, so please check them out. But this recipe, as I said, they're great tasting by just putting just some simple powdered sugar on top. If you try this recipe and you like it, well, leave a comment. I'd really like to hear from you. I'd also like to remind you to please watch me solely on YouTube, because that's the only place that I put my videos on. And again, the reason I don't put the recipe below anymore, and I'm not alone on this, that's for sure, it's not worth the time anymore. I got very tired of seeing my work posted, pinned, claimed as others. People write to me and I can't answer you. Very frustrating. So that's one of the reasons I don't do it. So again, I'm sorry. But if you watch me on YouTube and you write to me on YouTube, I will do my best to answer you in a timely fashion. So I want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. Stay well and stay safe, and I'll see you soon.